Good morning, and I'm sorry I'm not with you guys today. I have not made a video of lessons for almost a year, so you guys hopefully will be patient with me as I make some mistakes going through this. A couple of things I want you to keep track of and keep in mind. You just should have finished your fluency, and with this, I'm going to go through the lesson. If you have things that you need to do on your whiteboard, keep that whiteboard out so that you can do this along with me. When I tell you to stop the video, then you can pause the video, you try the problem yourself, then you can turn the video back on and see how you did with it. So hopefully you'll follow those rules and those expectations there so that you're not just sitting there waiting for me to do all the work without you doing anything, because you're not going to learn, as you well know. Let's start right now with our objective for today, and that is to express metric length measurements in terms of a smaller unit. Model and solve addition and subtraction word problems involving metric length. So when we're talking about metric length, we're talking about centimeters, kilometers, and those sorts of things. Meters. So we're going to be reviewing that, which you already should have started in your fluency, and then we're going to go on with that. And you'll be just doing addition and subtraction with these, doing the word problems. So let's go ahead and move on with that. And we are starting here. I'm going to see if I can, I keep forgetting. Just, you'll have to, again, bear with me while I do a couple of these things where I'm learning how to do this. We have a problem here, and here's our application problem. We're going to start with Martha, George, and Elizabeth sprint a combined distance of 10,000 meters. Martha sprints 3,206 meters. George sprints 2,094 meters. How far does Elizabeth sprint? Solve using an algorithm or a simplifying strategy. So let's look at this and think about, well, what do we know? We know that we've got Martha, George, and Elizabeth. And all together, so combined, that means all together, they went 10,000 meters. So we need to look at this and say, well, how far did Martha go? Martha went 3,206 meters, right? So here's Martha. George sprinted 2,094 meters. And then we have to figure out, well, so what did Elizabeth do? We could do this with the tape diagram. We could draw our diagram like this. We know that our total was 10,000 meters, right? We know that Martha did 3,206. We know that George did 2,094. And then we have this unknown part that we have to figure out. So think about your steps, and I want you to try and solve this right now on your own. So turn the video off, pause it, see if you can solve it, and then come back and look at it. I am going to keep talking. I'm going to pause for just a second while you pause yours. When you come back, we'll solve it. Okay, the first thing that we needed to do was figure out, well, how far did Martha and George go together? And so if we're trying to find out their total distance, we should be adding that. So we will add 3,206 and 2,094. Remember that when you're just in the thousands, you do not have to use commas. So we've got 6 ones and 4 ones. That gives us 10, and 1 10 and 9 tens gives us another 10. And in our hundreds, we've got 300, and in our thousands, we've got 5,000. So we've got 5,300 meters that the two of them did together, Martha and George. Well, we know that all together, all three of them went 10,000 meters. So we need to start with our 10,000 meters, and to figure out how much Elizabeth went, we need to take the total, which was our 10,000. We need to subtract what Martha and George did. Oh, and there we do. We get to subtract across zeros. So fun, right? Let's just double check. Can we do our ones? We can do our ones. We can do our tens. We have enough there. Do we have enough in our hundreds? We don't. So we're going to have to go over to our thousands, and we're going to have to regroup these, and we are going to turn that into, that also doesn't have enough, so we're going to have to take from here. We'll turn this into 10. Now we can take from 10, turn it into 9, and turn this into 10, and then we should be able to solve our problem. So 0 ones minus 0 is 0. 0 tens minus 0 is 0. 10 hundreds minus 3 would be 7. And 9 thousands minus 5 would be 4. Now, if I want to check that, then I can just go ahead and add these bottom two lines right here, and I should get what I started with originally. So my zeros, my 10, 1 and 5 is 6 and 4 is 10. I came up with 10,000 here. I got 10,000 here. So my answer is Elizabeth sprinted. I'm trying to write fast, and I'm not writing very neatly. 4,700 meters. Okay, this slide is going to show what I just went through and did with you. Look how much neater her writing is. So, alrighty, we want to look at, just so that we get a really good understanding of what centimeters, meters, and kilometers, or kilometers, depending on how you choose to say it, are. If you think of a centimeter is closer to an inch. So think of things that you would measure in centimeters. You might measure a staple in centimeters. You might measure a pencil in centimeters. That would be something you would measure in, so some of these smaller objects that you might measure in inches, you would also measure in centimeters. A meter, although it's not exactly the same as a yard, would be similar to a yard. So think of a yardstick, and that's about 3 feet. So a meter isn't quite the same as that, but if you thought about a meter, you might measure the height of a desk in meters. You might measure the height of my desk. Maybe you'd measure the height of a countertop in meters. So that gives you just a little bit better idea of what you would measure with meters. A kilometer is distance. So it's similar to how you would maybe measure a mile or something like that. If someone says, oh, I ran a 5K, that means they ran 3.1 miles. So a kilometer is distance. How far is it? Maybe it'd be the distance of your bus ride to school, or the distance just to school if you might walk or get a ride. Okay, so that's what a kilometer is measuring. So that you understand the differences between those as we're working with them. Okay, now we're going to look at this chart here, and we're going to notice that on one side we have kilometers or kilometers, on the other side we have meters. So you can see that 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So if we're trying to figure out, well, how many meters here is equal to 2 kilometers, well, if 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer, then 2,000 meters would be 2 kilometers. And then that same, how many for 3? Well, that would be 3,000. How about 7? 7,000. So hopefully you're writing these on your whiteboard really, really quickly, but you're doing it. Okay, here's one. We're getting a little bit trickier now. What about 70 kilometers? We added a 0. So if we added a 0 here, then we're going to need to add a 0 to our 7,000, and we're going to have to go a 70,000. Okay? Now we're flipping back over to the meter side. If 8,000 meters, how many kilometers is 8,000 meters? Well, that would be 8 kilometers. How about 10,000 meters? That would be 10 kilometers. Remembering that 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So 9,000 meters would be 9 kilometers. Let's look at the next one here. So our second problem, we're going to compare some relationships, and we're going to make some conversions here. So we're going to compare the sizes and note relationships between meters and kilometers as conversion equivalencies. So if we wanted to turn our 1 kilometer, 500 meters into just straight meters, what would we need to do? So think about that. So we'd need to remember that 1 kilometer is equal to how many meters? That's 1,000. And then we'd need to add that to the 500 we have here. So we would have 1 kilometer, 500 meters would be equal to 1,500 meters. So a similar problem here, 1 kilometer, 300 meters. We're going to think of it the same way. So we've got 1,000 meters plus 300 meters is 1,300 meters. 5 kilometers, 30 meters. Well, again, we have 5 kilometers would be 5 times 1,000, so 5,000 kilometers plus the 30 meters that we have here. So we would have 5,030 meters. All right, we're going to flip it now. If we've got 2,500 meters, what's that going to look like? Again, we're going to say, okay, 2,000 meters by itself would be 2 kilometers, right? And then we have 500 meters left over. Very similar really to this problem up here. We just did it where we had 1 kilometer. Here we have 5,005 meters. So remember that the 5,000 is 5 kilometers. And we're left with how many meters? Just 5. Okay, hopefully that made sense as we're doing that. I'm going through it pretty quick, and so I've got to get my timing a little bit better, but I want you to stop it if you need to stop it so that you can look at it again. All right, let's go on to this next one. So now we're going to look at it, and we're going to add mixed units of length using the algorithm or simplifying strategies. So just like we do with, really with all kinds of things, we can't add kilometers and meters. I couldn't say, 5 kilometers plus 2,500 meters is 2,505 meters. That's not going to work. So I need to either put everything into kilometers or turn my kilometers into meters. As I'm looking at this problem, I think I'm going to convert my kilometers into meters. So I know that 5 kilometers is the same thing as 5,000 meters. And now if I'm in meters here, then I can easily add the 2,500 meters that I need to add here. And we can put the commas in if you want. As you know, I often don't. So since we're both in meters, then that's great. We can have our answer will be in meters. And when we add them up, we're going to end up with 7,500 meters. We're going to try that again. Oh, here's how we did it. There's the answer. Now, on this particular answer, the person working this problem chose to put the 2,500 meters into kilometers. So they said, well, I've got 5 kilometers. So I know I have with the 2,500, that's 2 kilometers. I'm left with 500 meters. So when they added those two together, they got 7 kilometers and 500 meters left over. And then they did it the way that we did it the second time. So there are 2 different options there that you could add. All right, let's look at this next one. And I want you to do this one on your own first. You've got 1 meter, 1 kilometer, 734 meters, plus 4 kilometers, 396 meters. Now, if you choose, you can just line everything up in the right place. So I'm going to let you pause the video if you feel like you know how to do this and do it yourself, and then turn it back on and see how you did. I'm going to keep moving forward with it. I'm going to line everything up. And again, because I need to make sure that my units of measurement match each other. I can't add kilometers to meters without some kind of changing or converting them. So I've got 1 kilometer, 734 meters. And then I have 4 kilometers, 396 meters. Now, if I just keep these as they are, I can go ahead and add them. I can say, oh, I've got 4 plus 6 ones, and then 1 and 3 is 4, and 9 is 13. I've got 1,130 meters, and I have 5 kilometers. Now, when you look at that, though, you can see, wait just a minute. When I got all these meters, I can convert 1,000 meters into kilometers, right? Because 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So I can have 5 kilometers plus 1,000 kilometers. I'm sorry, that was wrong. Don't listen to me right there. Not 1,000 kilometers. I can have 5 kilometers plus 1 kilometer, which is from the 1,000 there. Plus, I have my 130 left over meters. And when I add those all together, I get 6 kilometers plus 130 meters. All right? This next page, again, is just the same thing. And if you want to take a minute and just observe this page and see what how this other person solved it, it gives you a minute to just stop, pause your video, look at it, and make sure you understand how everything is working there. Alrighty, we're gonna, let's go on to the next page here. All right, now we're going to subtract mixed units of length using the algorithm or simplifying strategies. So when I look at this, I've got 10 kilometers, and I'm subtracting 3 kilometers, 140 meters. So I have a couple of choices here. I can take my kilometers and turn all of that into meters, and then turn everything back. Or I can take, I've got 10 kilometers, and I can say, okay, I've got 10 kilometers here. I'm going to break that apart. I'm going to break that apart into 9 kilometers and 1,000 meters. When I do that, that makes it easier for me to work. It gives me something that I can take my 1,000 meters and my 140 meters. So I know I can subtract 140 meters from 1,000 meters. And then I know I can still subtract my 3 kilometers from 9 kilometers. And those equal together, 9 kilometers, 1,000 meters equal 10 kilometers. So I'm going to set my problem up that way and do it again. So I'm going to start here. Instead of 10 kilometers, I'm going to have 9 kilometers, 1,000 meters. And I'm going to subtract the 3 kilometers, 140 meters. So I'm going to set that up like that. And again, I get to do lots of subtracting across my zeros. So I know I'm good in the ones column. I'm not good in the tens column, and I won't have enough in the hundreds columns. So I'm going to have to regroup, and I'm going to take that and put that here. So now I have 10 hundreds instead of 1,000, which is the same thing. And then I can see, though, that I am going to have to regroup that to 900s, and then I have 10 tens. So 0 minus 0 is 0, and 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 1 is 8. And again, if I add those together in my head, I can see that I did do my subtraction right. And 9 kilometers minus 3 kilometers is 6 kilometers. That made my problem a whole lot easier, and there is my answer. Again, here are several different possibilities of ways that you could have done this. So you could have put everything into solution A is here. Let's put everything into meters and convert it, and then we can do our problem that way. The second way is the way that I did it right there. The third way kept this, they started with 10 minus 3 kilometers was 7 kilometers, and then they kind of played with did 7 kilometers, 1,000 meters minus the 140, so they got the answer that way. Or you could have drawn a number line, and figured out those two ways. So those are different ways that you could approach that. Let's look at our problem number 5, and this is a word problem. And we're going to be doing a few more word problems here because that's really what it's more about. So we're going to solve this word problem. Sam practiced his long jump in PE. On his first attempt, he jumped 1 meter, 47 centimeters. On his second attempt, he jumped 98 centimeters. How much farther did Sam jump on his first attempt than his second? Because his first attempt, he jumped further. All right, so his first attempt, let's write this down. First, he went 1 meter, 47 centimeters. His second attempt, he jumped 98 centimeters. Now, we know that if we're trying to find out how much further he went, then ideally what we're going to do, we're just going to subtract, and that will give us the answer. But already looking at this, I can see that I cannot subtract 98 from 47 in my centimeters, correct? So I'm going to have to rewrite that and convert my 1 meter into centimeters. So let's go back and think for just a minute. Well, how many centimeters are there in a meter? And there are 100. Remember that remember that that's similar to cent in what is 100 in Spanish, I believe. And I'm probably saying that wrong. But so we're going to convert this. We're going to, instead of saying 1 meter, 47 centimeters, we can turn 1 meter into 100 centimeters. So this could become 100. And then we have 147 centimeters because we added those together. And now we can easily subtract 98 centimeters because we've converted that. Now, looking at this, though, I can see that in my ones, I do not have enough. So I'm going to have to regroup this. So I am going to take one from the tens, but now I can see that that leaves my tens with not enough. So I'll need to take one from 100 and put that there. So there we go. So we've changed this to 17 minus 8, which is 9. And we've got 13 minus 9, which is 4. So we're left with 49 centimeters. Again, just to double check my math, 8 plus 9 is 17, 1 and 9 is 10, and 4 is 14. I did end up with what I started with. So I know that my answer of 49 centimeters is correct. And here we have different ways that we could do it. We can look at that first attempt and we could have drawn our tape diagram. And here's our first attempt, looking at our first attempt, and then looking at our second attempt. So we can see that here is the way that we did it. We converted our meter to centimeters and did it that way. You could have written it slightly differently. You would have come out with all of the same answers. So you would do that, whatever is the easiest way for you to do that. All right, you have now come to that part where you are going to do your problems. So go ahead and do the problem set. Do as many as you can. Your exit ticket is in the Google Classroom, and so when you're done with this, you will turn to Module 2, Lesson 1, Exit Ticket, and you'll be able to take care of that there.